everyone. It is July 4th, 2024, and I am Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary. And at the request of one of my patrons, I'm going over how I set up Morelia Bredli or Bredl's pythons, specifically in Dubia enclosures, and more specifically, the 4x2x2 enclosures. This is a 4x2x2 Dubia enclosure, reptile habitats. It's got glass sliding doors. It's got a screen top, and this is set up for a Morelia Bredli that at this time I think is 10 months old, maybe 11 months old, so less than a year old, but close to a year old. And as you can see, I have things on the ground for him to access if he wants. A regular black hide, a half log, a holy roller ball, a humid hide. On this other side, I have an elevated water dish and a black box cages hide. I have a branch going from one end of the enclosure to the other. Bredli love to climb. They spend most of their time off the ground. So I have a net up here. I also have a python playground, and this is manufactured by Exotic Enrichments on Etsy. It's fantastic. You can put them on the ground or set them on top of something. And this one I've hung from the ceiling. And then I have a sky hide in here. And that's probably where my little Bredl's is right now. He usually sleeps in that sky hide all day long. And then at night, he is typically on his net or on his elevated python playground. Occasionally, he'll be on top of this slate, because above that is where I have the heating and lighting. This is another example of how I've set up a Dubia enclosure for one of my Morelia Bredli. This is a clutch mate to the one I was just telling you about. It's pretty much set up the same way. I have two nets in this one instead of just one. And this python playground is on the ground, unlike the other one, which was hanging from the ceiling. And that is because I have the extra net here, and this snake sky hide is on the other end of his enclosure. So I just have more stuff taking up vertical space in this one. So I set his python playground on the ground next to his holy roller. And this is a third Dubia cages 4x2x2 enclosure that I have set up for another clutch mate, Morelia Bredli, from the same clutch as the other two. They are all sleeping. It's the middle of the day right now, so they're all asleep. And I've got pretty much this set up just like the other ones. I've got a net and a sky hide up top. I have a holy roller, water dish, half log. I've got extra foliage in this one, humid hide, just some other hides, slate under the basking area. And down here I have another python playground that actually fits just perfectly on top of that black box cages hide. And I have a paper towel roll through the python playground, and that's often where I find this particular snake resting during the day. I'm not sure where she is right now. Sometimes she also sleeps way up here, wedged at the top. This is a pretty typical setup for Morelia Bredli that are young, that are hatchlings, juveniles, babies. I don't have that many that need to move into larger enclosures until they're 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, unless they've just grown large quickly and they're not coming out for any type of exercise. Mine come out really often and they just get to roam around the room. And this is a setup that is for the intake of one. So this Bredl's python is the clutch mate to the others, but she arrived after them and she hasn't been here as long. And I set her up in this enclosure just during intake. And I have another Dubia enclosure in a box that needs to be put together for her. And again, though, the holy roller or similar item is really popular. Perching is popular. Paper towel rolls are popular with them. She spends virtually no time on the ground. So her water and everything is elevated because this is where she spends most of her time, and that is typical for Bredli. What she did do on the ground yesterday, I noticed, is she shed, and there's her tiny little baby Bredl's shed. And even more recently arrived than the one I just showed you, Emery, is this one named Nova. And these 5 enclosures and setups I'm showing you all contain Morelia bredli that were hatched August 7th, 2023. They were produced by Andy Watson. So they're all clutch mates, and I'm using them for a behavioral study. This was her transport container and her intake container. And she's still in it right now. She's got a plant in there, a perch. This dish, which contains water, but also some dry areas that she can get into for enrichment. And then the thing this is sitting on has openings at both ends, and it's not positioned where I don't think I can show you that in this video. But so she's in underneath this box, and there's also like a half coconut hide in this box, so she can get in here and get in another hide. And I've got this inside a tent because she's longer than this tub, and it only took the first 24 hours of her being here to make it evident that she wanted to be able to get out and move around. So I put it in this butterfly tent so that she can come out of her tub whenever she wants. And she sleeps underneath here, but at night she comes out, she stretches around the lip of the tub, and she just sits up here for a long time. She gets into ambush position in her plant, and she'll hang down and wait for food to come. And then she comes out and crawls around the tent at large. And so what I will do when I get her Dubia enclosure set up is I will just take this tub with her in it and set it in the enclosure. I did that same thing with Nalisay. And so this side of her enclosure, I just took her intake tub and I set it right there where that half log is now, and I left the lid off. And when I saw that she had abandoned the tub and wasn't really going in it anymore, I took the tub out and put the half log in. How long did that take? Not very long. She probably had her intake tub in the Dubia enclosure with her only for maybe a week at most. And this snake Nova has literally only been here since Sunday, and I'm filming this on Wednesday. So she just got here. I was fortunate enough to be able to get one more clutch mate from this same clutch, which helps me out for the study that I'm going to be doing. So it's nighttime now, and I'm just following up to show you what these Bredl's pythons are doing in the enclosures I showed you earlier. There is Emery perched on her holy roller and wide awake, probably wondering if I'm going to feed her. Hi, Emery. No, I'm not feeding you right this moment. No, I'm not. Thank you. This is Mobius, so I'm not sure where he was earlier, but now he is hanging up there off of his net, and that's pretty typical. And I think they all think I'm going to feed them. I am not feeding you. Sorry. Let's take a look at Balin. He's up there on his net. Hi, Balin. You decided to come out of your sky hide, and I just turned their lights on quickly to take the video to show you where they are. It's actually about, I don't know, 2 in the morning right now. And this is what these guys are doing. I found Nalisay here. I was looking for her. She's hanging out of her sky hide. So I'm going to get this door open and show you a little bit more closely. So there she is. I'm not sure where she was all day when we were doing the enclosure tour earlier, but now she's in a typical ambush position, and I think they're all hungry. So I may feed them later on after I do my final barn check of the horses. Hey, Nalisay, what a good girl. You're so beautiful. And then you're probably wondering where the last one is that I told you is a clutch mate. This is Nova. She's only been here 4 days almost. And so as I mentioned when I was showing you her intake tub, she has woken up from likely sleeping all day under this gray thing. And now she's hanging out partially draped on the tub, and she was down here in her plant in an ambush position, waiting for prey to run by. Yeah, just like a tree, huh? You're another very pretty girl. So she actually ate the first night she got here. This is a very resilient and confident species, and it doesn't take them long to adapt. At least that's been my experience here. I have a lot of experience with this species, personally having worked with 46 here at my facility over the last 5 years. And then I have several clients that I do behavioral consultations for that have Morelia Bredli. And this is an example of what I do when they outgrow the 4x2x2 Dubia enclosures. They are easily connected together, so I have taken out the end on 2 of them and placed them together for this particular snake, Kazuda. And I've connected 2 Dubia 4x2x2 enclosures for him because he is 7.5 feet long. He is 6 years old. This is not a typical size for a 6-year-old male. I have 5 and 6-year-old males who are still in 4 and 5 foot enclosures. I believe this one in particular was just overfed. I did not raise him. And with that, I will leave you to enjoy some photos of these beautiful clutch mates. These are all Morelia Bredli from the same clutch produced by Andy Watson. The clutch hatched on August 7th, 2023, right here in Colorado. I will also remind you that if you want more educational content just like this and more detailed courses, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/behavioreducation. Until next time, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.